But like I said, guys, I cannot wait to have this interview with Adam. Hey guys, are you there?
We are trying. Yes, we are
Let's
here.
go. Let's go. Awesome. So now, boom, baby. There we go. There's that pretty face. Ha
Uh-oh.
ha.
Oh, man.
How are you tonight?
We are awesome and excited to be here with you and your team and all those folks that jump in.
Man, I'm super excited as well, Adam. If you guys don't know, I'm gonna say it again. I'm Car Guy Jake, and I host this show every Monday night, Talking Cars with Car Guy Jake, where we dive into putting people first in the car business and do it like a podcast style interview with our special guest. Tonight we have the amazing Adam Arens, who is a dealer principal owner of multiple stores. And I was so looking forward to this because Adam and I share a common thing where we're both in Clubhouse, and I've got to meet so many people. And every morning I hear Adam, when we're having a topic of discussion, dive in there with a whole perspective that I had never thought about. And Adam, I just wanted to say thank you, brother. I always have an attitude of gratitude. I want to be respectful of your time. So at 9 o'clock tonight, it's 9 o'clock now, 8 Central Standard Time. But at 10 p.m., if you're done, you're done. You just say, hey, Jake, I'm going to hop off. If you want to continue on answering questions, if we have some engagement, that's perfectly fine. But I appreciate you, brother. First thing, without people like you, we couldn't learn and grow and develop all these people that are down here. And if you guys haven't started hitting those likes and shares, get that out. Adam, there's three questions I mainly ask and focus the conversation around, and it kind of organically goes. Number one is going to be kind of what is your backstory as far as how you got in the car business, and you can go as far back as you want. The second one's going to be why did you stay in the car business, and the third one's going to be where do you see yourself going in the future. So, I like to dive right into these, man. What's the Adam Arens story, man? How did you start in the car business?
So I was in grad school in Birmingham, Alabama.
Alabama.
And I was coaching baseball and had played baseball for a while, but coaching baseball and working in a bar at night. And some people in the car business recruited me in with the temptation of a demo and me being able to write my own hours. So that meant I could go to school and do all the other things I was doing and sell some cars. And
Right
so that was 44 years ago. 45 years ago, I apologize. And so never got out after that, basically. And so,
right on.
yeah, in short order, so I worked at night. And I mean, there's always some funny stories around things that happen to you, but I worked at night. And so I would stay with the F&I manager to finish the night. So the sales managers would go home and I would stay with the F&I manager because you had to have two people in the building. And back then, instead of faxing things, you did something called dexing, and it took basically 10 minutes per page to send the stuff to the bank. So come 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, we'd go into his office and shoot the crap while he was doing stuff. He would put a bottle of booze on the table and start sipping it. And lo and behold, I came to work one Saturday morning and they said, you understand this F&I stuff? And I said, well, I sit there with him at night. And he said, well, he hasn't reported for duty in 2 days. You got a new job. So I sold cars for a while, did F&I for a while, and ended up going to work for Southeast Toyota and JM&A and World Omni, and ended up building a training company for them. Helping dealers all over the place and helping people grow themselves into being more healthy and capable at it. And did that for 17 years. I was a DM, field rep, and then I was the primary F&I trainer for a number of years. And then we built that into a company where there was a lot of F&I trainers, a lot of sales trainers, built a dealer academy, did all of that stuff. And then kind of was responsible for a lot of the new stuff in that company. So I was there for 17 years, and one day I decided that I was either full of shit or I knew what I was doing. And what I
Right.
mean by that is I decided to go out and go to work for myself. I worked for the greatest boss ever. His name was Jim Moran, and he believed in growing his people and taking care of his people. And I tend to do my best to live my life in his legend and his legacy. And I was lucky enough to have one good parent and know the difference between good parent and bad parenting. I had one not so good parent. And then in 2003, after doing that for 17 years, I took my first open point. So yesterday was 23 years ago.
We lost your voice there. I don't know what happened.
We lost it.
Yeah. Hold on. It might be.
Are you good?
All right. Let's try that. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. I got you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. I'm not sure where we lost you, but 23 years ago, I started my first open point dealership. I moved from South Florida, where it was nice and warm, to Portland, Maine. Opened a Subaru open point, a point that had failed 5 times before I got there, and it's now the largest Subaru dealership in New England and has been for 5 of the last 6 years. And we built it around our mission statement. I mean, it's really simple. 2 words: to serve. And that's to serve the customer, to serve the community, to serve our families, and serve each other. And I would say that is how we run all of our businesses. And we have other businesses besides car dealerships now. And it's really that simple. And if you're into it, you're one of us. And if you're not, you don't need to be. And so everything that we do is a life of service to other people. And I can tell you that it's the right thing for me. I know it's the right thing for you. And it's helped make me extremely wealthy in many different ways.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So we'll go back through. I want to fill in some of those gaps, So that's kind of the brief story. I got to figure out. So you were coaching baseball or you were playing baseball?
So I had played ball and didn't do so well. In other words, got hurt and couldn't throw the ball the way I was supposed to while I was in school. Right. And in the opportunity, I came from a family without money at all. Right. And so the idea of working and going to school was the only thing you could do, right? And so so the coach got me a coaching job at the University of Alabama in Birmingham, and the ability to go to grad school. And so I was coaching a little bit of baseball, working at night, and going to school during the day. But one of the things that a lot of people don't know is that you go from like a full-time life, if you're playing ball in high school and you're going to school and you're doing well. I will say this, I was a good student. And so you're doing those 2 things, and you're working at night and you're playing ball. You get it all done. And then all of a sudden you get to college, and without extracurricular, you're really committed to about 14 hours a week.
Right.
Right. So there's 168. That leaves 154 for you to screw around, make mistakes, or get it right. And I did all of the above.
You said a mouthful. Yes, sir. You said a mouthful there, because right. I just had a daughter that graduated this year, and she's going from all out, all gas, honor classes, ballet 4, 5, 6 times a week, doing this, helping us take care of the kids, just being a rock star. And now she just danced her last recital, and she's about to go start college. She doesn't have a job, we made her school her job, as long as she was doing well. But now she's going to have to go get a job. She's going to have to start studying, all those extra hours. They say an idle mind's the devil's playground, right?
It is.
You do a lot of trouble. So yeah, I love that you brought that up. That really hits home with me, man. I love that part.
Well, in the late 70s, Gainesville was more known for its weed than it was for its sports. And it was, I mean, everybody, the cops, everybody. There was nobody that it was the late 70s, right? But the reality is nobody prepares you. You know, they say, well, you're supposed to study 2 hours for every hour of school that you're taking. And what happens to most people, not all, is that they're lacking the discipline of an oversight. I said, one of the great things about playing sports is they make you go to class. But we'd start a class with 100 people in it, and a freshman class with 100 people in it in one subject matter. And by the end of the class, there was only 30 or 40 people in it. Because people, like, if you miss school in high school, they call your parents.
Right.
If you miss school in college, they call nobody.
They just mark it down.
And
that's it. Move on.
Right. And it's fine. It doesn't bother anybody. So once you miss one class, you get pretty far behind. Once you miss 2 classes, you're never coming back. And so that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, it's easy then.
Yeah. And, you know, I don't feel good today. I'm not going. Well, the reason you don't feel good today is because you're not going to hit a home run. You're not going to win. You're not going to know what's happening. And then people don't know how to ask for extra help, etc. So I'm not so sure that many people belong unsupervised at 18 or 17. In my case, I was 15 years old to be unsupervised in that set of circumstances. So I'm a big proponent of the military. I did not serve, and I'm embarrassed because of it. But at the end of the day, knowing that you're doing this for something greater than you, because what I hear today, maybe not your kids, maybe not my kids, is I don't wanna is okay. And so
exactly.
Right. And so the reason I have all of these choices in life is because I didn't say I don't wanna. I learned what I liked, I learned what I didn't like, and I learned that, listen, it's a lot easier to work hard at 17, 18, 19, 20, 30. At some point, you're going to want to be able to help other people do it to where you can kind of sit back a little bit. So, you know, I know you're going to talk about the future for us. My future is helping other people make their future.
Exactly. I love that. And that's part of what this show is all about, you know, is helping anybody and everybody that hears this, because you just never know what's going to change somebody, what's going to spark somebody. You know, whenever you were mentioning it, you said, you know, you got the coaching job based off of, you know, some basically influence from one of the other coaches or whatever.
Yeah, somebody made a phone call and said, I got somebody who'll work for free.
Right. So then, and they'll always take that. And then you got recruited, right, into
Absolutely.
car sales. And the big allure for you was like, oh, wait a minute, you're going to give me a car and I can kind of set my own hours.
Well,
it was why wouldn't I?
Well, when you're 20 or 21 years old, the idea of driving a brand new car, right? I mean, we have people out there today who sell cars who can't afford the cars they sell.
Right, 100%.
And there are no demo programs. I say no. There are very few demo programs out there. But the idea of having, think about it. If you had a demo program, I'm not suggesting that people should, but for a 21 or 22-year-old or 20-year-old, the expense of the car plus the insurance can be close to $1,500 to $2,000 a month.
And that's crazy to think, because these kids nowadays, I know I've got kids nowadays that are coming up into this. They can't afford that, you know. And that's like with me, with Brad, you know, I announced today I'm down here at Furman Chevrolet. I'm going to convince him that I need a demo, a lifted truck, because I'm going to make Furman Chevrolet the #1 lifted truck seller in the state of Florida. You know, and if I do that, then I want a demo.
Well, I'm going to tell you that people in Florida will buy lifted trucks, and you know that, from the Panhandle down to the Keys and everywhere in between. So
absolutely, and we're going to call it Lifted Town, or we're going to call it Lifted City, Tampa, Florida. Lifted City, because I always used to call Milton Lifted Town because it was a real town, small town, you know. So Lifted City, Tampa, Florida. I want my demo, and I'm saying it right now, Brad, if you're listening. So I love that you got drawn in by that, but really, we kind of we might have either I wasn't listening, but we kind of skipped over. What was the hook after you got in? Why did you stay in the car business?
I think it was initially the money. It was the learning experience, right? So you can't go to a classroom and get the learning experience you're going to get in dealing with the public and problem solving, right? So if somebody ever asked you what you do for a living, if the answer isn't problem solving, you don't make money. We make money because we solve problems, and people will allow you to help them if they believe and trust in you, right? So the bigger the problem, the more it pays. And I'm not going to say that it's totally justified, but school teachers solve problems, bankers solve problems, physicians solve problems, surgeons solve problems, lawyers solve problems, and a lot of us cause problems, right? At the end of the day, you are paid based on the number of problems you solve and how difficult they were. And so somehow in that, I may not have been the best ball player, but I could beat people with my brain and my arm, at least through high school and the beginning of college. And that was just figuring it out. Make them uncomfortable, make them do something that you want them to do. And that's what selling is making them, is helping them come to the conclusion that since you were part of solving the problem, you get to be part of the solution if you choose to, right? So you know, and I think that other people saw it as very difficult, but at the end of the day, I know nobody wants to spend, not nobody, but most people don't want to spend the next 6 hours in the dealership.
No, exactly. Most people don't want to do that at all, you know. So what I always say is if people in sales would realize that by actually taking the time to help the person in front of them make the best decision on solving the car problem that they have, they would actually build a relationship, and then that would pay them dividend after dividend after dividend. I have people on my post, Jake, when I'm ready, I'm coming to Tampa. I'm coming to Tampa. I'm coming to Tampa. I'm coming to Tampa. And I mean, it's just one of those things. I had a guy reach out to me. He's a Vietnamese customer that I have. They own nail salons. You know, he reached out to me today.
Surprising,
yeah.
They own nail salons.
Yeah, right.
Good joke.
So he called me today. He's like, "Hey, man, you know, I need to get a Suburban, da 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 da." And I'm like, "Well, you know, I'm not in Milton anymore." And he's like, "Don't worry, I'm coming where you're at." You know, so you know, it's just one of those things. That relationship is way more valuable than that transaction. And all you got to do is get all the friction out and solve the problem, you know, and that's where people get hung up. They get caught up in their own mind of selling instead of helping, you know.
Right.
And I love your philosophies on that stuff. So after you're in, you're hooked, and then how did the whole training company come about? Where did this conversation start?
So you may not be familiar with Southeast Toyota. So I got in the car business in a Toyota dealership. And the people that I wanted to emulate were the people actually that worked for Southeast Toyota. So the district manager was cool. He came in and he actually taught. It's not like, I say this today, I don't know when the last time your Chevy GM or your Chevy DM, district manager, came in and did a sales meeting or did a training meeting and talked to you one-on-one as a salesperson or a sales manager and role played with you. But that's what we believe. That's what we believe that people who came in the store were there to do. They're there to help everybody get better. Now, I'm going to tell you, with Subaru, Honda, Nissan, Acura, I don't think I've seen a DM do a sales training meeting in 23 years. And I would have fired my DMs if they didn't do it. So it's a different philosophy, right? So I'm supposed to leave you better because we were together. Whether you're a customer or whether you're sitting next to me at church, at a synagogue, in a restaurant, whatever it is, I'm supposed to leave you better than I found you. And the best way you can do that is you either pick them up or you teach them how to pick themselves up, or you talk about. We believe in role play, and I would like to say my entire team does, but I have to remind them on a daily basis that if you're not role playing, they're not getting better. And the beauty of role play is they don't need to see you do it.
No.
They need to practice.
100%. If you don't do the work, you can talk about it all day long, but if you don't do it, it's not going to come to fruition. So I know I normally don't tell my story on this, but I came in the car business. I worked for Harley for a few years, but I actually came in the car business kind of later in life. I was 44 before I sold my first car. But when I got into the business, I realized immediately that my main focus was going to be helping people, right? But I had to figure out how to become an expert at it because I had never sold cars before. And I needed to figure out how to do that. Now, I wasn't given the training, I wasn't given the opportunities where I started to actually train and get better. And I didn't have leadership, there every day doing what you're talking about. So I sought it out myself. I'd been in the military and, I had done all this other stuff. And even at Harley, it was funny. The owner's grandson used to hate Jake training. He called it Jake training. Every day we would go in and we would train. At Harley, and it's funny. He's one. He tells me I made such an influence on his life when he was a young kid or whatever. But it's one of those things that if you don't and you're doing your actual guest a disservice by not training yourself to be an expert at helping them. And that's what people don't understand, and they don't realize that guests always complain about how they're treated or the experience or this or that or the other, but the actual professional, the salesman, will not invest in themselves enough to train and become an expert. So that can just go away, and it can all be focused on what you say, to serve.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I think in many ways it sounds easy and might be more difficult than I make it. But with social media, you can tell everybody how to do things. Through sitting down next to them and saying, it's your turn, is how they're going to get better. And I can tell you stories through my life that have told me that this is not about what I can do. It's about what you can do as a result of us two being in the same place at the same time. And one of those things is role play. And I think it's way underrated. Now, by the way, the doctor that you go to didn't go through 14 years of school. He went through about 7 years of school and 7 years of practicing with a boss over his shoulder, letting him do a little bit, and then she did a little more, and then a little more, and then a little more. And after 14 years, they might be in the room by themselves as the lead person, right?
Right.
And we make money more than doctors. And we're not willing to do 14 days of role play in some cases, right? So I know we can do things better.
Right.
But I think we have to do it through encouragement, enthusiasm, but role play on a daily basis. And by the way, we have the greatest tool in the world to role play with, and that's our cell phone. They all record. They all record. And so we were told to go home when I was first getting in the car business and practice this script into a mirror.
Right.
And then when I started doing the F&I training, Monday was classroom. Tuesday morning was role play on video. There were video cameras. They were big tapes back then. Wednesday morning, video role play, everybody on tape individually. Then training Wednesday afternoon, build into it. Thursday morning, video role play on tape. Thursday afternoon, a little bit more training. Thursday night, dinner. Friday morning, final exam, role play on tape that went to your dealer. We sent them the Tuesday morning role play, the Wednesday morning role play, the Thursday morning role play, and the Friday morning role play. And should you not have participated, we reported to the people that paid for it, that's generally the dealer, and said, this is what's happening. They're welcome to come back, but they missed the entire assignment this morning. And there's people that are sometimes dealers' kids, etc., think they can get away with stuff and not participate. But we were told this is how we were going to do it. At the end of that week, I had proof that you either could or couldn't. And then people back then would go from, back then it was $700 or $800 a car to $1,500 a car in a week. Double their income, double the dealer's income. and have all the confidence in the world. And then we
That's
have,
it.
that's role play is, I tell the story. This is before your time, I believe. I know how old you are, but you would have been very, very young. I took my son down to Fort Lauderdale, where the Yankees used to do spring training. They now do it in Tampa. So you will get to see the Yankees if you want to see the Yankees. But
Right on.
so we show up when pitchers and catchers are going to report, because I know one of the guys who's on the team and I know one of the coaches. And my son's 7 or 8 years old. And I said, we're going to go meet some of the guys on the Yankees. And he's like, I'm so down with that. It's awesome, right?
Right
And
on.
so we go meet, and we go into meet with 3 or 4 of them. And we're on our way back to the car. And I hear in the batting cages somebody hitting balls. So I said, okay, we're going to walk over there and see who it is. And we walked over there, and it was one of the greatest lessons of my life. So this is 3 days before regular ball players were supposed to be there. There's 2 guys in the batting cage. One guy is coaching the other guy, putting the ball on the tee, and they're hitting balls off the tee, 3 or 4 balls at a time, and we just stand there and watch. One of them's in the Hall of Fame, and the other one should be. One was Don Mattingly, and the other's Wade Boggs.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's the level of practice that an athlete goes through just to start before they get there. And then we had a meeting one day with a guy named Tony Gwynn. And again, you may not remember him, but he might have had the highest lifetime batting average of anybody in the last 50 years. I think he did. But Tony said, I hit 100 balls off a tee before every game, right?
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
my son's in T-ball, right? He's 5, 6, 7 years old. And when you're 7 years old, you don't want to hit a ball off a tee, right? But then to see how you can deliver the ball differently, how you can swing differently, how you can practice differently and outwork everybody who might have been born with better gifts from God, right? That's the difference.
Absolutely.
That's the
And
difference.
it really is that can be a huge separator, and not to, talk about me too much, but exactly what you're talking about is where I found success in the car business. I went from it's a 14 store group, and I walked in as number one in my dealership for 3 years in a row, and then I went down to the big store and beat the number one guy that had been number one for 15 years, and nobody had beat him, and all this other stuff. But it's nothing to do. I have God-given talent. Everybody does, okay? But I have outworked my talent every day. I will just go in there and grind. That's like today. It was super exciting for me because they have an entire deal save lab,
Yes.
and it's phenomenal. The lady in there is helping you. It's a big deal to me because that's where I will go in there and put 100 rounds downrange easy.
Right.
I mean, I was a machine gunner in the Army. Let's go. So for me, the work is the separator. The problem, like you were saying, a lot of times these kids nowadays, and I say that like I'm a great old man. I'll be 50 this year. But really, these kids nowadays, they don't understand work ethic. I was picking tobacco at 10 years old. 12 hours a day. So I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just bred in you, and that's like coming down here. I'm going to be treating this like I'm on a deployment, like I'm working a shutdown, like I've got to build the foundation, so I love work ethic, so
It's so important to getting there. I think one of the things you can ask people when you're interviewing them, if you woke up and you had only $15 in your pocket and your next paycheck was next Friday and today's Monday, what would you do?
exactly. I love that. So why don't you answer that?
I go right to work. I would
Selling
and
cars.
start to produce because I learned when I was young the difference between having a buck in my pocket and not, right? It wasn't handed to me. I mean, I don't know that I had a 25-cent allowance or a 50-cent allowance. I don't want to sound like I walked uphill both ways in the snow to school with no shoes, but having money in your pocket was winning,
100%. It's
right?
so funny. People don't realize that, what at a young age. Now, I come from very, very, well, I won't say modest, dirt poor, raising. and like 3/4 of my paycheck at 10 was going to my mom and dad. I was lucky I got to keep any of it, and whenever the first month I was in the car business, I took the number 2 spot and I sold 15 cars, and people were like, "Oh my God, Jake, you sold 15 cars." I'm like literally genuinely asking them, "So is 15 good? I mean, what is that? I mean, I don't know how to rate this.
Right.
I mean, nobody's told me anything, other than there's your desk, go buy a mouse, I'll never forget that. I asked for a mouse and I got cussed out by the new car sales manager. I'm like, what in the world, dude? I'm 44. I about went back to driving a truck,
Right.
At that point, I was driving a truck before I started selling cars. So awesome. How did you make the transition? Now, this is something I'm very curious about. How did you make the transition from training into? Oh, let me say this real quick before.
Right.
So TikTok likes us to announce who we are, what we're doing, all that. So
I am not buying wheels in heels. That is Mary, my wife.
Not.
Right.
He is not.
I'm not sure what my
Don't know how to be live on TikTok.
I don't know what my TikTok name is, but I hopefully people can find me. I'm new at TikTok and not good at it, so
that's all right. Everybody can probably Google Adam Arens in Maine dealer principal and find a bunch of stuff there. I'm Car Guy Jake, and I'm hosting this show. This is Talkin Cars with Car Guy Jake, where we are actually putting people first in the car business. Now, I love to hear the stories of the people that we bring on in a podcast style interview, and then have interaction with the people down here in the audience. So guys, please get those thumbs going, share this out with as many people as possible, because we're going to break the conversation here in just a minute and let Mr. Adam, y'all get to pick his brain now. And I mean, go ahead and hit him with as many questions as possible. I love your perspective on things. Adam, you're always bringing up like a different way of looking at it whenever we have a conversation in Clubhouse, and I love that about you.
Well, I want to say something briefly about what you did in the last couple of weeks, which took longer than a couple of weeks to do. And I will relate it to a story for me in 1987. So I told you that I admired those guys from Southeast Toyota. So I was working in a Toyota dealership in West Palm. I had moved from Birmingham to West Palm with the same dealer principal. And I had decided that I wanted to work for Southeast Toyota. Well, you can't get hired by anybody at JM Family if you're in one of their customers' stores. So here I am, the assistant general manager at a very young age, and I quit my job. And I had to wait 6 months to go to work to even have an interview. So as it turns out, my wife was pregnant with our first child, and I walked in and said,
wow.
I quit my job, but in 6 months, I'm going to have an interview. And she was almost done, or she was pregnant. So I called the insurance company and said, what other car dealers do you insure so I could stay on the insurance? And they gave me a list. One was 35 miles away, and I went up to the dealership and said, I'd like to sell cars here for the next 6 months. And there was something in it that he saw something in me that ended up coming to fruition. And he said, well, if you will train my son how to run this dealership. Now, his son was 15 years older than me and had some behavioral problems. Then you can do anything you want in the dealership, including sell cars. Well, we took this store that sold 25 cars a month to 75 cars the first month I was there.
I love it.
Because we decided to sell cars like we were in a Toyota store, right? Which was competitive, say yes to everybody, put the units in operation, build relationships, and know that the people will come back later. Act like they're loyal, even if they're not, so that they might become that way, right? So I ended up having to train him, and then I went down for an interview with Southeast Toyota with a guy by the name of Al Hendrickson. And if you ever lived in South Florida, he had a Toyota store, him and his son. But when he was running Southeast Toyota's sales department, and Al and I talked for an hour, and he says, well, before we continue this conversation, you need to take a polygraph, and we need to do a physical. Okay. So I go take the polygraph, then take the physical. And while I'm doing the physical, the woman dropped the vial of blood that she had drawn from me, and it spilled all over the most expensive suit. Now, remember, I'm on an interview for the job that I was willing to quit my well-paid job to go to and do it and wait for 6 months under a different set of circumstances, right? First child on the way, the whole 9 yards. So I get home that night, and how'd it go? I think it went okay. Did they offer you a job? No. How do you have blood all over you? Well, they dropped the vial, and they said, well, how much do they pay? I don't know. And anyway, what I said to my family at that point, and what you said to your family is, I believe in them. It is the place that I want to be. And I want each of you to take a deep breath and say, if you're not in a place that's right for you, go find that place and make it impossible to go for them to not hire you. If it means I was going to sweep the floors at Southeast Toyota, then I would have swept the floors. If it meant that I took $100,000 a year pay cut, I would take $100,000 a year pay cut. I knew they paid well. Everybody had Rolexes and white shirts and ties, and I figured, and they had cars, right? So all good. So in all of that is determine your life. Don't let somebody else determine your life. Be with the people you want to be with. Right? Hang out with people who are smarter than you. Hang out with people that you can learn from. Hang out with people that you can build trust in. I can tell you, if you ever go to a class reunion, and many people here might, when you go back to your hometown where you grew up, you're going to hear people's misery because they're not where you are. And then they're going to want to have a drink with you. They're going to want to have a drink with you. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not about any of that. I can love those people, but they weren't the people that were going to lead me to where I wanted to go. And so, in these last 45 years, the car business has made me generationally wealthy. It has changed the lives for the people that I work with. We do things differently in the way that we do it because we give the benefits of a big company and the love of a small company. And that's what I felt from an even bigger company. But if I'm ever in doubt with what the right thing to do is, I think about Jim Moran, and I think about the feeling that I get when I do the right thing for whatever that higher power is out there. But have that mentor out there who's not your official mentor. To have a mentor out there that you say, no, wait, I can try to think like him. And his entry, he had one of the most interesting stories, but he put more zeros on the page than anybody, at that time in the car business. He was probably the wealthiest man in the car business in the world at one point. And I will tell you, I had to defend his wealth. I've had to defend other people's wealth, because one of the things you will hear from people about people who are wealthy is they stole it from somebody else, they inherited it, or they cheated somebody. And the reason is because they're making an excuse for them not having the things that they want in their life. So the only way you can get it is by doing it the wrong way. Well, I'm here to tell you, the only way you can really get it is by doing it the right way, despite what some people in politics might do.
100%, I agree there. Now, and I'll tell you, Adam, that's where you and I are in complete alignment, man. I'm so set on my core values, and I would rather take a less paying job to be around the people that I know align with my core values and the people that I know are going to mentor me. There's one thing I've learned. I became obsessed with self-improvement a few years ago, and the most common thing that I hear either on podcasts, in books, or doing these interviews with high-level people, they say that finding mentors, you've mentioned Mr. Jim a few times, finding those mentors, those people that are going to push you to get better, is the unlock key for your own life. And I tell you, today I had one of those moments where I was sitting there at the table for my very first meeting, and I had Alex up at the front of the table, just talking and spewing knowledge and going over how to handle this and do that and the other, and then I'm just going to say it, I felt privileged afterwards. He talked to me for a long time. We prayed together. We went throughout the entire dealership. He introduced me to different people, and, just invested in me and poured in and filled my cup, and that's what I think the camaraderie, and you had mentioned the military earlier, that is what I miss, is that mentorship, that leadership. And I told him about Sergeant First Class Minnick. Sergeant First Class Minnick should have been the Sergeant Major of the Army, but his mouth and his actions got him into a lot of trouble. But he was the kind of man, he was the hardest NCO I had ever met. I love the smell of napalm in the morning kind of guy, and he would tell you to lean forward and choke yourself, and you better, but he punched a lieutenant in the face over one of his soldiers. He would immediately take one to the chest for you. He would defend you. It didn't matter what it was. If you were doing the right thing, you could bet your bottom dollar Sergeant Minnick was there to take care of it, and those are the kind of people, that are going to get you better. Those are the kind of people that don't compromise, and sell their soul for the dollar, or, whatever the case may be. You can do this. And that was the biggest. So I almost am the prodigal, or, the hater turned to advocate, because before I got into car sales, everybody told me I needed to go sell cars. But I told them I don't want to be a sleazy car salesman, And I hated the industry. And then when I got in it, I realized I could do this and still have my integrity. I could do this and still focus on my purpose of helping people and have a great time doing it. And it's so fun. Now I'm not one of the biggest advocates, I will advocate largely for the car business and the people in it, because you are amazing, Adam. I mean, look at your story. Look at the lives, even down to the porters at your stores, that you have impacted. That impact is David Long's word of the year, but you have a huge footprint. How many dealerships and how many employees total do you have?
So we had 4 dealerships, and in 2025, last year, I was fortunate enough to sell my Nissan dealership. The Nissan dealership that we had grown, I lost confidence in the manufacturer and their team, and so I will tell you, it is a good dealership for somebody to own and operate, but it requires, for the most part, somebody to be in the store and make a living off of that store. And what happened was, over the years from 2019 to 2025, it required more and more work, and I couldn't be there. I was getting a better return on my time and investment by being other places, in other companies, in other car dealerships that we had, and other businesses. So we found somebody who was qualified to own the dealership, and 2 brothers. So they basically are the GM and the service manager. So those are 2 salaries that I was paying that they've taken off the payroll, basically, and they're running the store. And then I sold one of my Subaru stores. I'm not going to quote what other people have said, but it was probably the highest price a Subaru store's ever sold for. And somebody came to me and said, "I'd like to buy your Subaru store." And I said, "It's not for sale." And he said, "What if I make you an offer you can't refuse?" I said, "I will not refuse it." and then they came surprisingly close to me not refusing it. And I said, "Well, here's the thing, and you guys can use this however you want to." And I said to him, "Listen, you were about $2 million away from owning the store. The $2 million won't change my life, but it will yours."
And did they do it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There you go.
And so along the way, we made a decision that I wasn't going to invest again in Massachusetts. There's certain things that go on in the state, tax-wise, etc. But it was the right thing for me. It was the right thing for them, and I wish them all the best. And all of the associates stayed. They kept everybody. They came to me for their benefits program to make sure that they had the exact same thing. So it was, they were willing to do the right thing on top of paying the price that made it work. And to this day, I'm friends with all of the associates who were there, and I think they're doing well. I think it's a learning curve for the new principal in how Subaru New England does business. But in the meanwhile, so that store was the number 8 store in New England in sales volume. Our other store in Maine, in the town that you guys have never heard of, is the number 1 store. It's number 1 in service. It's number 1 in OLP, CSI, however you score that. It's number 2 in parts. And there's a reason we're not number 1 in parts, and that's fine. But I will tell you this, the Subaru dealers in New England are very tired of me getting all of those awards, or my team getting celebrated with all of those awards. On top of that, we have the longest longevity of our associates. The people, you know, if you're in the place where you have the wrong people have to go away. But once you find people that are close to the right people, embrace them and make them realize that this is a better place for them to stay, and invest in them, train them, help them get better, live with their downs, and create higher highs in the future. And I'm not writing a book, but I will tell you this. We are in market number 59 out of 65 in New England. We're number 1 for 5 of the last 6 years. 1 year we got beat by a little bit, and there's more to the story, but 5 of the last 6 years. And if you ever want to do the math, the name of my book is going to be called 199 Months. Because it took us 199 months to win number 1 month. But it was in everybody's pay plan every month. To be number 1 for 1 month from the day we opened the door. So there was a vision out there to get to number 1. And then since we've been doing business in those 6 years for now 77 months, of those 77 months, 68 of them we've been number 1.
20th in the country.
I love it. I love it. Let's go.
So we might have built the foundation. It might have took us a long time to build the pyramid, but we're not going back down. And by the way, we truly only compete with ourselves. If the number 2 dealer outsells us by 100 cars this year and we grow 500, I'm fine with that. If the number 2 dealer finishes 100 cars behind us and we go 100 cars backwards, I'm not fine with that. So one of the things that we're after in ours is we want to grow our sales department so that we can grow our service department. We want to grow our service department so we can grow our sales department. And all of that helps the parts department. And all of that means more people get paid commissions, bonuses, salaries, and benefits. So shrinking the company is a tough thing to do. And I know there's crisis times in the car business. One of them was cash for clunkers before you were around. That's when we made our surge from number like 22 into the top 10. And then it took us another 10 years to get to number 1 because number 1 kept running farther and faster ahead. Now we compete with ourselves with an eye on that competitiveness of, wait, who's chasing us? Who's number 2? And for the last 10 years, we've been in the top 25 in the country in a town of under 50,000 people, surrounded by the biggest city in Maine, which has 60,000 people in it. So if you think you're in a big market or a small market, you're right. Doesn't matter what your market is. People will pass other competitors to do business with you if you fall in love with them first and give them an opportunity to fall in love with you.
Absolutely. We're going to create a fly, stay, ride program. Drive program, I guess, not ride, but where people can fly down to Tampa, spend the night on the beach, and drive their new car home. You know, why
Beautiful.
not? You get a vacation and a new car.
Beautiful.
You know, so awesome. Now, where do you see you've been in 45 years now. Where do you see your future? Where are you headed? What is the end goal? Do you have one?
So we have 6 kids, 2 grandchildren, and people practicing to make more every day. So
Right on.
that's part of the focus. Luckily, we believe we both have longevity behind us, and so we're going to avoid getting hit by buses and run away from cancer if it ever happens to us. But other than that, we're going to be around making a difference in the world. We spend a lot of time in Washington, D.C. speaking to senators and congresspeople about how to make a difference in our communities and in the world. So that's a big part of what we do is to support healthy relationships between our allies as opposed to not standing by our allies. We support our military as well. And so we will probably do another 1 or 2 startups. All of my companies have been startups. We don't buy companies, we start them.
Okay.
And so if our kids decide, so our kids are from 30 to 39 almost years old. And so help them and support them, continue to grow our team in Maine. If the right thing comes along where another manufacturer comes to us and says, we'd like to have a point in Maine. So there are some manufacturers without stores in Maine. That's how we ended up with Acura, that all the Honda dealers wanted it and they gave it to the Subaru dealer, and it kind of pissed them off, but it's worked out. So we'll look at those opportunities. We spend a lot of time in South Florida. And we're fortunate enough to win a lot of things and bring our team to those things so they can enjoy those spoils. They win all those big trips as well. But at the end of the day, every day is making a difference for the people closest to you, and just think about what you're doing and how it affects other people, and apologize when you make mistakes. And I make plenty of those, right? So you know, you're in the throes of, I know you have more kids than most do, and you know that is a primary focus for us. If I would say this, you wouldn't sacrifice one of your kids for your career. And the older, right, and so the older you get, the more important they will become, and then the biggest pleasure is grandchildren, because you can leave when they have their crap fits, stuff like that. So.
That's crazy. You say that. Yeah, you're right. I'm in the 8+ club, you know. So my wife and my oldest daughter were pregnant at the same time. So I did the father of the bride. We had to remodel the house at the same time, and they were all living with us, you know. So I got a 2-year-old grandbaby and a 2-year-old baby, and I tell you, it's really cool.
So who's older, the aunt or the niece?
So technically, by 3 months, the aunt is older.
Okay.
You know, so yeah. So, you know, it's kind of like, wow. You know, my wife and I have went through so much together over the past 14 years. We have a yours, mine, and ours family, you know, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And she is a trooper, you know. On a few of those, she's really, I mean, we had a near-death experience on one of them, you know. She was on bed rest for 4 months. I had to take care of everything and everybody, you know, and work, and you know, and it's just been, you know, this last one was really kind of what we needed for closure after the bad incident, you know. But man, it's like you were saying, with surrounding yourself with people, you know, that I'm very emotional about this, because, you know, we're traveling back and forth, you know, while I'm doing this down here. And, you know, I tell you, it's tough to give up the time, but to know that in the long run, it's going to be better. But I mean, if anybody's ever seen me with my kids, it's, yeah, they fuel me.
That's awesome. You know, we are both, we also have we had a yours and mine. Now we only have ours. And I think that's where you guys are too. And,
Yep.
and you know, there's a lot of people who have gone through tougher things than I will ever go through. And there's a bright, shining thing at the end of most of what we go through. And if you can see it early, it will help you get through it. And so blessings that you got past that, but blessings that you grew through it as well. So.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I tell you, Adam, this has been super fun for me, but I don't want to hog all your time. I've been kind of ignoring the comments, you know, and stuff. So we'll start inviting some people up, you know. I do want to ask you a question. It's kind of, because like I said, I love your brain and the way it works. And you talk about these startups and everything, you know, and I'm always curious for myself, like if you were to say, hey, look, I'm going to start a startup around Car Guy Jake. What would that look like? And what advice would you have for me? This is on the spot, totally random, guys. I never asked anybody this, but Adam has a way of looking at things that is completely different.
First of all, I would say these are the things that Car Guy Jake can do, and how can that be built into a business that affects more people than just you, right? So, I know that there are people out there in the world that sell a lot of cars and they build their team around it. I think at a certain point that you get to be in this, how do I build this into a sustainable business? Well, I would say that if what I'm selling is Car Guy Jake, or what I'm leading with is Car Guy Jake, I would mentor a large group of people. And it would cost me money to do it, because it would certainly cost me time to do it, to build them into a team that can do what you do. Now, you're going to have people that don't work hard enough. You're going to have people that don't have the skill set, and you'll get better at that. But at the end of the day, there would be a whole team of people that could do everything for anybody in the car business. One of the things when I get on stage and they give me a microphone, they're like, everybody wants what you have, and it's easy, but they don't want to do the work. And I'm like, no, it's not that. There's an obstacle. And until that obstacle goes away, you have to live within certain parameters. That doesn't mean the zip code can't change like yours. But for instance, when I was 40, let's say I quit a job at 26 or 7, for the promise that there was a better job down the road that was over the years going to be better for me. And then I quit a job that where they were paying me way too much money for all the fun I was having. And I quit a job where everybody said it's the best job, one of the best jobs in the car business, and the bonuses were insane. And I quit that job, and everybody's like, why did you do that? I said, well, at 43 or at 50, I can go out on my own, fail and go broke, and somebody would still hire me and pay me too much money to do the unique things that I can do.
I love it. I love it.
So you can't have the fear of going broke. And so month number 1, we were in the business where we opened up our first business in Saco that's now 23 years old. Month number 1, we lost some money. Month number 2, we made money. And we're now 270 some odd months in a row of making money. Right? But I never worried about being broke. Somebody would pay me. Somebody would give me insurance. Somebody would make sure that, and because I was willing to work. I would, when I hear people come to this country and they tell me that they can't find a job in their field, and I'm like, so what? Go get a job, then look for a job that you want. But at the end of the day, if you're not willing to flip hamburgers at McDonald's to feed your kids, maybe you shouldn't have made babies, right? And I'm not trying to be harsh, right? So be willing to do whatever it takes. If it meant shoveling snow, digging ditches. I watch people from outside this country get on roofs every day at 100 degrees, tear down roofs, and basically get no benefits because it's better than where they came from. And we're now seeing women from all over the world do those jobs as well. And at the end of the day, I know this. We walked into a store today and there was a man working there who I hope he was happy he was working there, but he was at least 15 years older than me. And I'm not sure if he was there by choice or because life circumstances said at 80 years old, he needs to be selling furniture.
Right.
I hope he was there out of choice and wanted to be there. But at the end of the day, the choices that you make when you're young allow you to make the choices that you want to make when you're older.
That's a mouthful. And on that note, all right, guys, if you want to come up, this is Talkin Cars with Car Guy Jake and Mr. Adam Arens. He's not in heels, and he is ready to answer some questions. And you guys have a unique opportunity. This is one of the reasons why I chose this platform, is because, like, for example, we have an owner right here, a highly successful individual, And now it doesn't matter if you're 1 month in the car business or not even in the car business. You have access to pick this man's brain and figure out what shortcut, what thing can you take away from him to put in your own life to make yourself better. I do these interviews in this podcast as selfishly as I do it selflessly because I want to pick their brains. I want that opportunity to gain that knowledge and to grow myself, guys. So let's see who we got on the platform here, ready to go. We got the car mom first. Let's go. Now, usually, Adam, the way I do this, I'll bring up like one person at a time. They'll get a few minutes. They'll be able to talk to you. You know, we'll conversate for a few and then we'll move on. Hey, young lady.
Hi. Hi, Adam.
How are you?
How are you?
Wonderful.
Good to see you.
Too.
So I have a question for you. And it's, by the way, it's Adam's fault that I'm on here. It's literally Adam's fault that I'm on TikTok. I've never been on TikTok before, so thank you, buying wheels and heels.
That's Mary.
I know. Question. So I didn't hear you say whether or not. So when you started with JM&A, were you brought in and did you have to be a specialist?
So I started with Southeast Toyota.
Okay.
And so this was, I think, if I look back, I think it was 1986 or 7, one or the other, 86, November. And I was, back then we did tent sales. And so a tent sale was all the dealers in that district would bring all of their cars or the majority of their cars to one location, and we could sell they could sell each other's cars. I had been a participant in there from the dealership standpoint. And so I was hired to be a tent sale closer.
Okay.
And very shortly into it, they figured out something that we had accomplished in our Toyota store, which was we were doing 80% leasing in 1985 and 86. And I don't mean for this to sound as harsh as it will, but we were leasing cars because we could sell people cars and sell the concept of leasing to the customer then and not tell them back then how much they were paying for the car because they were really just buying a payment. And so they asked me to create a program to teach it to all of the JM&A customers. By the way, the JM&A customers in the 80s were all Toyota dealers. There was no Chevy store and there was no national sales force. It was, we did business with the Toyota dealers. If they had another dealership, we might do business with them. So the focus was on Southeast Toyota. And so me and another person grew a lease training and district management program to deliver to the Toyota dealers. And after a year of doing that, they recruited me into to go to work for JM&A, where I did a couple of assignments as a specialist, but not for very long. And then I learned to teach the F&I class, and that was stable. That was kind of nice because you were at home most of the time. Well, then we decided to turn that into a company where we were doing it on the road a lot too. But long story short, yes, I did pound keys, and I think everybody's better off for doing it. And it's not because you need to do it. It's because you need to know how we do it. And that, because we can't teach you to everybody else, but we can teach us to everybody else. And so the example that I use in our training and in our systems and processes is, if I handed you 6 ears of corn and there's 12 of us here, there's a good likelihood that 12 of us could cook the corn differently. One of us would put it on the grill shucked, one in the husk. Another one would wrap it in tin foil. Another one would put butter in it. Another one would boil it. Another one would cut it off the side of the cob and then cook it. And so there's 12 different ways we could all cook that corn. Well, at the restaurant that you work in, you don't get to cook it your way. We have a way, and you need to know our way so you can make it their way and our way be the same thing. So that's a special. Yeah. Unfortunately, some people never get off the road.
Yeah, you did good.
Got lucky.
I love it. I love it.
No, you didn't get lucky. You've created your reality, and I love that.
Yeah,
So
luck is when
it's
hard work
very
meets
inspiring.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Right? Yes. Love that. Love that saying. Yeah. So I'm really grateful for you, by the way, even though I'm on TikTok every damn day.
Oh, I have not become the addict of TikTok yet.
Well, you have to though. Russ says you have to.
I agree with,
You have to post 3 times a day, he said.
and
But at least
TikTok seems
once.
to be the most successful one. TikTok and YouTube, I think, are the two most successful.
Yeah, so I'm navigating that. But anyway, we'll catch up soon.
Good to see you.
Thanks so much
Yeah,
for
you
coming out.
too. Bye, guys.
All right. Next up on the stage, we got Mr. Mike. What's up, brother?
What's up, gentlemen? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hey. Finally, the man, the myth, the legend, and he has a legendary story that I've been just dying to hear. And it's my childhood hero, Carl Yastrzemski. What is the story with Carl Yastrzemski?
That one's simple, right? So, in part of this journey includes over 3 million miles with Delta and 1 million with another one. But we were delayed flying into West Palm Beach one night, and I was sitting next to Carl Yastrzemski on the airplane. Well, back before Uber, you couldn't get a cab out of Palm Beach Airport after midnight, and so I offered to drive him home, and that was before. This has to be in the 1990s, 1994 actually. I can tell you when it was because baseball went on strike. So I said, by the way, my son and I, who is at the time he was 6 or 7 years old, are going to every ballpark on the East Coast in the course of 2 weeks. And we're starting out in Boston. And he said, well, I'm going to hook you up with a restaurant up there. And we continued to be friends and have each other's phone number. And Carl is, I believe, still alive, and I believe actually well. But he lives less than a mile from where we live right now in South Florida. So
wow. And I think it was a couple of weeks ago he threw out the first pitch along with some of his retired teammates, and they were all, I think they were celebrating Dewey going in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, that could be. Yeah, that could be. So when you go to Fenway Park every night, there's a legend, and luckily we get these really cool seats, and the legends sit above us, right? So they're if you go above the on deck circle and you look, I think between the third and fourth inning, there's always one of them up there, whether it's Jim Rice, who's there every day, I guess now, or Rico Petrocelli or whoever. They're all there.
Wow. What a story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
It was exciting for me
to hear that.
It was exciting
thank
for
you
me.
so much.
Now, Holly, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I have my family on the show. And now, Adam, you may not be prepared for this question, but usually, I'm there with them and they come on the show with me. But what I'd like to do is ask advice, right? Yeah. So I hit David Long with this the last week, and I said, hey, look, if you had to put a billboard, just a billboard, a short one line, this is the thing that I want every kid to know, what would you tell my kids is the best advice?
One line. I'm going to steal it from our mission
one
statement.
sentence, one
I'm going to
line,
steal it from
one-
our mission statement, is to serve others. I can't, here's the thing, if all you do is want to make money, you'll never have enough, right? Because there's somebody who's 13 seconds away from winning the lottery that never worked a day in their lives. So this is not about the money that you make. It's about serving other people and figuring a way to make other people's lives better. And if you do it it will lead you to my daughter teaches school, and she was teaching fourth grade. Now next year she's going to teach fifth grade, I believe, and she's making a huge difference in people's lives for the rest of their lives, right? And so she may not make the same money, and luckily she's got the option not to, for sure. But she's making a difference in people's lives. And my son worked in the nonprofit world for a while before he came to work with us. And I couldn't be more prouder of that. And the fact that you went into the service, listen, the service was an escape for a lot of people, but I come from a generation where everybody went into the service. Our parents.
I have duty, honor, country, and an American flag over my heart.
And there's, listen, the fact is that there's an opportunity for somebody to get hurt and not come home, and in some cases not know why they're doing it.
Poor wife got suspended.
But it is so much the right thing to do that I would wish it upon everybody to get a chance to serve others before they go out and serve themselves. And I just don't know that we've done a great job as a country now of understanding what this country was built for, because I think there's a lot of people that are out there trying to serve themselves, and you can take that however you want to. But I'm not. I don't care what an athlete makes. That's how they get paid, and that's their choice. Their career is short, but what they do with that money and how they make a difference, and some of them do great things with it. But there's people that don't, and there's people that are out there willing to take somebody else's just so they have more, and that's not what this is about. And I'm not going to tell you I felt that way when I was 20 years old. I wanted to make more money.
Oh, 100%. You know, and I get that. And for me, there's no bigger reward than serving others. My wife and I, we were driving to West Virginia, and she said that TikTok's funny. It kicked them off somehow, but they're still watching. So thank you, first off, for pouring into my kids and serving my kids. I love that. Thank you. But
they're all awfully good looking too. I'm not sure how that happened, but it's all good.
I'm 100% positive that is all Holly.
Thank goodness they look like her.
Yeah.
You know, we have inspirational sayings all over the dealerships. And it reminds people of certain things, but somebody, within that service piece, people are like, how do you keep your people so long? And I said, well, you find out what they want, and then you either give it to them or help them get it.
I like that. It's kind of like the platinum rule. Have you heard me talk about the platinum rule? Yeah.
I have.
So with Holly and the kids, I totally forgot what I was going to say there. But, I'm 50, right?
It happens. I think I'm 66, so you got some time to go.
Hey,
but you already got the right hairdo.
Exactly. Well, it's so funny. I usually keep a crew cut, and I do have hair. I actually grew my hair out because everybody thought I was bald. So I grew my hair out and did an unhatting of Car Guy Jake video.
Yes.
I typically wear the American flag, but I had to wear the Furman hat tonight.
In our store, you either wear our hat or you wear a Subaru hat, and so that gives some latitude to people. But yes, I agree. The brand is the brand, and by the way, I think customers appreciate the fact that we wear name tags in uniforms, even the guy that owns the place. And somebody says, well, I said I wouldn't walk into our dealership without a name tag on. Neither should you, right? And so we've bought clothes for all of our people in every position, and we encourage them to wear it, and we discourage them from not wearing it. But there's still some people that will say, well, and I said, well, here's the deal: you can work on your own customers, but you can't work on mine unless you're in uniform.
There you go. I love it. And having the name tag does make a big difference. People are always looking at it when they're, oh, hey, how you doing? And it just allows them to know who you are, and you're a representative of the dealership, And that's something, I'll talk about that a little bit. That's something that like I don't just consider myself a sales professional, but I'm also an ambassador of the dealership. And that's where people don't take ownership of what they're doing and who they're doing it for. If they would do that, you'd be surprised at how much your own self-worth and your own pride in the dealership or whatever you're doing. But if you would take ownership of it, the Army, drove it into me, and my uncle that raised me drove it into me. I can't walk by a piece of trash on the dealership without picking it up. It's just like I don't want a customer to or a guest, I'm getting used to saying guest. I don't want a guest to come by and see that piece of trash as a representative piece of trash on my lot.
Right.
This is my lot.
Right. It's funny because there's 3 quick questions that we tell people to make in their first video when they either join the company or they join social media, and that is who you are, what you do, where you do it, and why you do it there. Right? So my name's Jake. I'm a car salesperson at Furman Chevrolet in Tampa, Florida, and the reason I do it at Furman Chevrolet is because it's not like the car dealerships you've ever heard of. It's a place that gives back to its associates. It's a place that gives back to the community. It's a place where they would rather make you happy than charge you too much. And it's a place where all of us do our jobs at a level where other people wouldn't even think of doing it in the car business because we do it the right way. And by the way, I don't do anything here alone. I do it with a team of people, and let me show you who those people are. There's your first and best video you're ever going to make, because now you get to live it. Now you get to live it, right? So whether you're 5'2" and 500 pounds, or 6'4" and 199 pounds, get up there and tell people who you are, what you do, where you do it, and why you do it there.
And to quote Simon Sinek, I don't know if you've ever listened to him, but
every day.
Nobody cares about what you do until they know why you do it. And good night, Holly and the kids. I love you. The kids are getting tucked in right now. Adam, let's see who else is inquiring minds. If anybody would like to hop up, let me know. It was actually brought to my attention today that I have never interviewed a female, and I guess I need to do that. I hadn't thought about that, but
I nominate Mary.
Let's go, Mary. We know her TikTok works.
Right. And she has a very interesting story in the car business. I think everybody does, right? Because, unless your name was on the building, you weren't destined for this business.
Correct.
Right. I know somebody, who was it? Frank Lopes. Frank said he was born into the car business because his dad. Mary would be awesome. I hear her in there. You should commit, Mary.
All right.
I think we're competing with the Knicks and Spurs at this point.
All right, guys. So I've invited Danny on Wheels. Danny on Wheels will be a good one to do as well, guys. If you have any other questions. Yes, Frank Lopes, not Lopez. I called him Frank Lopez for a long time.
No, and I'm Arens, not Arens. So.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. So no, I will tell you this. My boss called me Aaron for so many years that I can't count it. So it's all right. As long as you include me in the conversation, I'm a happy boy.
Right on. I tell people all the time, I don't care what you call me, just don't call me late for lunch.
Amen.
Danny, thanks for hopping up, young lady. How are you?
Tired. How are you?
Oh, way better than I deserve. Excited, and just wanted to get you up here. And I know you're always looking for leadership questions. And the man upstairs right here beside me is amazing. So if you have anything you want to throw at him, please feel free. Do you know Danny?
I do not.
No.
Okay. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Danny on Wheels. I'm a new sales manager at a Nissan dealership in Alberta, Canada.
Wow.
So yeah,
Block heaters
I'll
and
be
all?
honest, I'm out of questions. What was that?
Block heaters and all?
Always a block heater. That is a conversation I have about 6 times a day.
I
Very
have been
essential
out there,
here.
and I will say that it might have been the coldest and windiest place I'd ever been.
Where were you? We're in Alberta.
Oh, we were in Calgary, and then we went to Edmonton, and we trained car dealers. So on some of the shortest
So
days I've ever seen.
when I lived in northern Alberta, about 6 hours northwest of Edmonton, until I was 14, and then we moved to southern Alberta, and now I live about 3 hours southeast of Calgary. So you were in central and sort of southern
Right.
central Alberta, in the only 2 major cities that the province has. And yeah, I lived way further north than that and way further south. But
Did you have any days
yeah,
where the sun never, like where it was dark almost the whole time?
yes. So in the wintertime, there was like no sun, and it's the worst. And the winters are very harsh up there. They've actually gotten better over the years. When I was a kid, like we would go on top of the barn and we would jump off the top of the barn, which is not safe. But when we were going into several feet of powder, and then all my cousins would be at the bottom with shovels, and we'd have to like dig each other out because you would just disappear under like the snow. It was hilarious. We broke a few bones that way, and then in the summer it's the opposite. You don't get any darkness.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So let me ask a question for you, Danny.
Sure.
So I got this, Adam. If you were given advice to a brand new sales manager on how to align everyone in the dealership to the single vision of becoming the #1 sales Nissan store in Canada or in Maine or in Florida or whatever, but becoming the #1, how would you give that advice to that manager on aligning the team's vision and having them understand the mission to accomplish it?
Well, I would. There's a couple of things I would do. First one is I would read a book and create the necessity for all of us to read that book together, so that we all get into where we're thinking the same way. And one of the things that I would like that book to deliver is a message about discipline and organization, because you can't grow tomorrow if you're chasing the things you were supposed to do yesterday that you forgot or woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning and then forgot. So it's almost as simple as having a calendar with half hours on it and trying to fill that in with what you did, so that tomorrow you can fill in with what you want to do instead of what you did. And then this piece of paper next to you, so every time you're talking to somebody, you're writing things down so that you don't forget them and you don't screw it up, and it will keep you busy. So what we've done over the years is not so much a sales book, but there's a book called Unreasonable Hospitality.
I just got that book.
So now buy a copy for every one of your sales team members, and let's go on this journey together. Let's create memories and feelings that transactions don't, right? So let's create. The reason I'm selling you a car today is not because you need a car or because I want to sell one. It's because I want to be the car provider for you, your friends, your neighbors, and even some people you don't like. So this isn't about me finding success today for me. This is about finding thrilling level of success for you, so that you get to the point where when I say, by the way, I would love for you to share some information with some family members, can we do it together? Your resistance is zero. But we don't even ask for referrals because we don't feel like we deserve it, because we didn't deliver a memorable experience that that gave us that. But to be able to do that, I can't disappoint you constantly. I can't forget what you asked me to do yesterday that I promised I'd do today that I forgot before the day started. So I need really good organizational skills and discipline around that. And again, it's 2 pieces of paper, a calendar, not the one that's in your phone. Use both because you want to physically be able to see how much room you have in the day to get better. So
I already do that with the time block things. I've been working so hard to get, I'm like, so what'd you do for the last 3 hours? Like, nothing's written on it. That's one thing I'm working on. And it's easier with my new hires because they follow those practices right from the beginning. My other 2 salespeople were salespeople with me, and they were my peers, and now I am their manager. So it is a little bit different, but it's actually gone very well with them. But changing habits for them is a little harder.
They're probably part of the reason you got promoted. And that is that everybody in the room recognized who was the right person for the job. And so, thank them every day for helping you get there. But let's talk about what you could do for yourself and your family in working less time to produce more. But I'm not sure that that's what you want, right? I mean, we went to 3 and 4 day work weeks for people. And then one guy came up to me and said, if I'm not at work 6 days a week, if I had 2 days off in a row, you would find me in rehab. Because I can't do 2 days off in a row. And I said, you got it. You want to come to work 7 days a week? Come to work. Whatever you need, we are here for you. And he so much appreciates that. But we have other people who are firemen 3 days a week, and they work with us 3 days a week. And so to find a way to get them, that's what goes back to right before we talked about this. Find out what they want and either give it to them or help them get it. So help them get more organized. Everybody can sell more cars because there's more time in the day than we use selling cars.
I
really
love
like
that
that a lot. I talk about the family tree of the deal, I call it. I'm like, so there's this deal, and our stock numbers on our used vehicles are designed to track it, actually. So we can always tell what car was traded in to get this car. So we literally have like a genealogy kind of tree of all of our used vehicles, which I love. But I talk about that all the time, and I'm like, you cannot think of each deal as just this deal. When you're doing this deal, you keep all the other ones out of your head. Don't be worrying about if you remember to call so-and-so back or did that other person text me back. Don't be checking your phone to see if this client got a hold of you while you're sitting at my desk getting numbers. You're in this deal. But this one deal isn't just one deal, and that's why it requires all of your attention, because it's going to reflect on other people who may have mentioned that maybe they were referred here and they're not telling us that even though we've asked. So it'll reflect back on those people. So it does go into the past, and then it goes into the future with what you can bring in. And I'm always kind of coaching from that standpoint. So I like what you said. And right now we're all reading my favorite book that I read when I got into car sales, and one other book, and they're very, very short, easy reads. So they've been passing those back and forth. How to Sell a Car Every Day is one. It's very simple, and I love it because it's just, I'm constantly reminding them to get back to the basics. Keep your eye on the process, follow the steps, and just do everything extraordinarily well. And then the other one is the 1 Minute Salesman.
Perfect.
So I read the 1 Minute the 1 Minute Manager.
Right. Well,
and all the managers there have to read it every year. So I was like, well, I better get them the sales version of it.
Well, if you do join on Clubhouse, so on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in our group, we have 40 people, generally get about 30 people who attend, and we're all team reading a book, gang reading a book, and we slow down. In the last year, we've done 13 books, I think. But everything from the 1 Minute Manager to the Energy Bus to Unreasonable Hospitality, start with why. 5 dysfunctions of a team that might help you.
That one too.
And right now we're doing Good to Great, and we are so
AI-driven leader.
the AI driven leader, which was a great one. The good to great, we are probably reading as slowly as we've read anything else because of what's in these chapters is so robust. And when I tell you we have the awards for being good, to be great in the car business means you're just better than everybody else, but you don't have to really be great. And we've gotten a lot of awards for being great that we're not. But we continue to try to get better, compete with ourselves, and say, wait, I do meetings for other dealers at one point. And I went to this dealer group and they had Honda and Subaru, and they're like, you'd be the perfect person to talk to our team. And I said, okay. So they're in Florida, and I said, somebody tell me where you are as a rank in the rank for your dealership and however you measure it in your district. And they looked at me like they had no idea. And then I said, okay, now in your state. And they were like, I don't know. And then I said, in the country. And they said, well, we don't have any idea of this. And I said, why not? And they said, well, it's not really important. We're in a small market. You know, there's these other dealers are in big markets. I said, until you decide you want to be great, you got no shot. Just figure out what great looks like to you, agree to it, and then have everybody work for it. And that means we're all going to continue to learn. So I'm really proud of what you're doing, Danny. The fact that you're using books to support it means it's not a personal attack on them too, which is great. And it's mind control.
If they can get the information, the same information from someone else that I would be giving them, they're probably going to hear it a little bit differently and a little bit louder because they have to listen to my voice all day. So, but yeah.
And you know what?
Jake, did you see what I just did? Sorry.
I can't see it.
There's a bit of delay. I didn't mean to interrupt there. Sorry.
Your live is paused. We can hear you, but we can't see you. Is that what you're talking about?
I think my reception just got a little weird there. I was asking if you had seen what I did over the last day.
I have not. I was moving to Tampa. I don't know if you saw that.
You were busy moving.
That was the big announcement. I quit my job. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I missed I just came in right before you pulled me up.
Well, no, I released that like Monday of last week that I had quit my job. I walked out.
Did you?
With a plan.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
I moved to Furman Chevrolet in Tampa to get better in alignment with the mentors and with the culture and with a path of growth for me and my family and everybody. It's I'm going to be a sales professional and pretty much a dealership ambassador networking.
I love that. Well, I hope you're very happy with the changes. I feel like you're not the kind of person who makes changes unless they're taking you where you want to go. So
absolutely.
Good for you.
But no, well, what's your news? We can't see you, but I'd love to hear it.
I don't know why you can't see. I can see me on here, but I just finished yesterday it's supposed to be 24 hours, but it was a 25-hour live stream.
Oh yeah. I jumped in there during that at one point.
I thought you had, but I'm not gonna lie, yeah. My head is a bit scrambled eggs right now. So I had a lovely 9-hour sleep after that.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Congratulations.
Yes. Awesome.
I'm not saying this happened to Jake or it happened to me, but it might have happened, and you're certainly welcome to raise your hand and tell us about it if you want to. But have you ever worked for somebody that you didn't respect or like?
Yes.
And why'd you stay? That's my only question. And some people justify that they did stay, but the reality is that there's a better place for you, a place where you're better aligned. And I'm not saying Jake was in a bad place.
Right. Exactly. I was. Hold on a second. Let me mute him real quick. Inside man, I'm gonna mute you for just a second, buddy. Yeah. So, but yeah. Long story short of it, that's exactly right. There are places where you can go and you can be a part of, and you just feel like you're 100% on board. And then there are places where you just don't feel like you're in alignment, and it's like I told when I left the Harley Davidson dealership, I said, listen, this is your table. I'm going to go build my own, you know. This is your service department. I'm going to let you run it the way you want to. I'm going to be out, and no hard feelings, to my auto group. That's like when I did the video, I said, hey, listen, I'm not going to talk bad about anybody. Like a lot of these people that do whenever you do I quit videos, my thing was just plain and simply, I believe wholeheartedly that where I'm going is where I'm supposed to be.
Well, congratulations. I'm glad that you made good choices for yourself. That's all we can do, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you for jumping up, Miss Danny. And I
Thank
hope you got a
you.
lot of value out of that, because I did.
What a
I did
pleasure
a
to meet
lot.
you.
Thank you so much for all the advice. I appreciate it very much.
See ya.
Bye.
Inside Man, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
We can't hear you.
Hold on.
How you
All right,
doing?
you
How
got
you
it?
doing?
Awesome, man. Awesome. What you got for us tonight?
Had a long day today, dealing with that credit. Did a Subaru on Saturday for a client and a Elantra, and I think you know what I do, but the salesman didn't tell me it wasn't a blind spot monitor in the car, and I told the client, hey man, it's his job to go over that vehicle with you, asked him 5 times, are you satisfied? He said, yeah. And then the day he told me he didn't have a blind spot monitor, so he's all right though. So
Awesome.
what you think's going on with the market this month? Last month was it slow for you guys?
We did not have a slow month where we are, but and there's some trends that we saw. We actually, and you might see this, I guess last May was the first really negative month about tariffs. So I think you're going to see a lot of companies that might have reported sales gains year over year from last year. But in the case of our Subaru, the country was up like 9%, and we were up 32% in our part of the world. And of that, we represented in our little world that we were up 34%. So we got our share of the growth. But it's hard to drive a market, and I'm never sure about what's happening out there right now. But I can certainly say this: import cars, more fuel efficient. Seem to be, we're seeing some of that as we were in this $4 to $5 gas range that drove some traffic in our way as well. So, and we're starting to see lower interest rates, as you know, as well. So they're kicking the market a little bit in the right direction. Well, our biggest problem is finding more used cars, right? So, yeah, and we have a team of people that do it, and we think we do it the right way. And if you really did the math, I know there's a lot of people who will tell you, it's the only way, but I'm trying to figure out if there's more ways, because if you buy 100 and you wholesale 40 of them, you still only bought 60 retail cars. And if you're selling 300 new cars combined, and you're only getting 100 keepers out of that, then you're 300 and 160 in real numbers. And we're trying to be 1-to-1. And I know some stores are much better than 1-to-1. So our math says I got to go out there and find at least 40 or 50 more cars to create some more used car trades that we want. We continue to aggressively buy cars to the point where we're making mistakes at times, and that's okay. But I'm actually trying to figure out if we need to go back to the auction and buy some cars, and I don't want to, but I also have this thing about the auction where if you're not the professional in the room, you're getting played. So, that's
Up here in Philadelphia, Delaware, northern Delaware, southern Jersey area, there's a lot of blue collar workers up here. And there's not as many affluent people in the inner cities as compared to the suburbs. So if the
Right.
dealership is closer to the suburbs, Philadelphia has a lot of, I would say, rough vehicles. So a lot of the trades, it's not worth it. And
Right.
there's really nothing at the auctions up here, according to all the dealerships that I deal with.
Right.
I mean, it's to the point where they're coming to me because I don't know if you're familiar with what I do, but they come to me and they're literally asking me to have my clients trade the vehicles in because they need them that bad. Like they're looking for vehicles out here. I know some dealerships that hardly have any pre-owned dealerships up here. I mean, pre-owned vehicles in the Northeast up here.
Right. No, and so you have a portfolio of auto loans. It sounds like.
No, so what I do, they will say I'm a broker.
Right.
In a sense, I am, but I'm not. The dealerships, the GM, GSM, and in some cases the owners. I used to be a salesman. I used to be a manager. I have a Chevy Ring. I have the Dodge Chrysler Jeep awards and all that other stuff. I even work for OnStar. Have my own region. So that's a little bit about myself. But I do facilitate deals. The difference between me and a broker is I literally do the numbers with the desk guys.
Right.
So I don't want to give too much away to people who haven't been in the business that long and to the public. But I deal with dealerships that shoot for the number.
Right.
So I have my own numbers, you might as well say. So when I get clients, I give them the numbers without the desk guy. I desk them myself.
Right.
And that's what a broker really doesn't do.
Right.
And then I facilitate the deal and they call it in. So they're doing loser deals to hit the numbers.
Yep.
Or
Yep.
break even deals. Now, as you know, and I know, salesmen aren't allowed to do that. Brokers are not allowed to do that. And the average consumer, I don't care how many books they read, is ways to get the money back. As far as warranty, tire and wheel, trade, and they can read all they want to read, Google all they want to go. You're not going to beat us who know how to circumvent the system.
Right.
So in a sense, that's what I do for my clients in the dealership. So if you went to my page, a lot of times you'll see me behind the desk, roaming through the dealership and doing what I need to do for my client, the dealership, and myself. That's what kind of separates me from the dealership.
And you'll do new and used.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But as you know and I know, if you've been in the business just for 5 years, those pre-owned prices are too high because there's a drought. And it's a cheat sheet, but I don't like to give everything away, But the cheat sheet is, I hear a lot of clients say, hey, the pre-owned car is just as much as the new car, $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 off. So they readjusted that around like 23, I say.
Yep.
But the cheat sheet is only if you knew how to lease, you'll know what that car is really worth when they trying to turn it in.
Right.
And
Right.
then
Absolutely.
the markup is there. But I don't want to give too much of that away.
No, we continue to focus on leasing and people ask us how. The first thing is that we present lease to everybody, even if they have bad credit, because we think it's part of the educational process, and then we help them make the right decision. Let's just put it that way. And we've actually seen over the years, obviously, it's helped us in that circle with the car, but also with the circle with the customer. And if it goes well, and it should, if you really disclose everything the way you're supposed to, if it goes well, it's a lifestyle. It's a pain-free lifestyle of driving a car. You got payments, but everything comes with an expense. You still got to, and so we're blessed to be able to. And that goes back to the thing that I was telling the guys in our team the other day. If you don't do a lease class every week, you're going to lease less cars. And somebody says, "Why is leasing important?" I said, "Well, think about it. Give the customer the choice. Give the customer the choice to be your customer for life. Give the customer the choice to have all of the warranty work paid for. Give the customer the choice to have all of these benefits. I don't want you to lease a car just because of the payment, even though some of you will. I want you to lease a car because it's the best thing for you and your family, right? And so we go back into, we teach leasing, and that kind of, I guess, is what put my flag up the flagpole, 40 years ago, was teaching people how to lease cars.
Yeah, that's the best thing, because as the economy gets worse, doesn't look like it's letting up anytime soon. The average price of a new car is $50,000.
Yep.
Who has great credit? Even if you have great credit, you still over 5 years talking about $1,000 payment. Who can really afford that as your children get older, utility bills get higher, gas prices, if you want to go on vacation, everything's going up, even the car. And when I was a salesman, I've been in the business probably about 15, 16 years. And I remember when I first worked for Chevy, for GM, and I'm like, how are they leaving out of here with a $350 or $400 payment for a Camaro? So I took it upon myself, because it was an option, to sit in the class when GM would come. And when the so-called professionals would come in and teach you how to sell, I would sit with them, the banks, and what I would do, I would just YouTube started to come around that time, and the internet. I would watch the walk-arounds, and I would watch how to lease a vehicle.
Right.
But then I would sprinkle my knowledge on it and say, hey, do you realize what your payment will be? Because back then, $40,000 car was like $350, $400 a month, which is not the case now.
Oh, right.
With maybe $1,000 down, you can get yourself a Grand Cherokee Limited. But the same token, if you wanted to finance, if you knew what you were doing, you could get an $800 payment with $0 down, $1,000 down for 5 years, 66 months. And you did a great job for yourself if you did that. But my thing was, why wouldn't you take $400 a month with $2,000 down? Because you keep trading in your vehicles. And then, as we know, 4, 5, 6 years, COVID happened. Then they readjusted all this stuff.
Right.
Like a lot of the lease programs look like finance payments now.
They do. Well, I will tell you this. I'm very proud of the fact that many of our customers have never bought a set of tires since they met me.
I never bought any either.
That's exactly what I tell them.
Or brakes.
Right? Right?
Or brakes. If you pick the right car.
How much is a set of tires? I don't know. I haven't bought any in 20 years. Since I met you, I haven't bought a set of tires.
The right car. And if you travel highway to wherever you have to go, you'll never buy tires or brakes. And in 23 years, but I'll say in the last 16 years, I never ever paid for my car to be fixed. Now, knock on wood, I haven't had any cars that broke down. But if they did, it would be covered because it's a lease. But I just paid because I messed up my own sunroof. I have an Acura right now. Okay, I have a TLX A-Spec, right? That's all I need. And it was a bee in my car, and I pulled the shade. And who knew that by pulling the shade, you'll take it off track? That was the first time, I think it was like $500 I paid for repair my car in maybe 2 decades.
Right on. Hey, Inside Man, we appreciate you jumping up, man. We're going to let the next people come up, pick the brain of the great one, man. Thanks for jumping in.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
My brother from around the world, Michael Dewey. How you doing, sir?
G'day, buddy. How are you?
Tired. I'm a whole hour ahead of what I'm used to.
Man, what is it? It's 12:45 p.m. Tuesday for me, so it's sort of middle of my day. But what have I've been going since
14 hours. Are you? Let's see. Are you in Japan or Korea?
Australia.
Australia. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I've been connected with yourself and Mary for a little while now. Yeah. Hey, I got a question, and it's something that I really like asking. People that have been in our industry for a while, and it's sort of like I like to sort of get you to change gears and think not just back, but like if you were to start again with the knowledge that you have now, if you were to start a dealership from scratch right now, Adam, what would you go? Would you go somewhere along the lines of like a buy here, pay here, pre-owned, or would you go to an OEM style store, keeping in mind that you're not starting out with capital that you might have access to now, but you'd be starting out from scratch?
So starting out from scratch, the price of entry has gone up so dramatically, right? So I will tell you, to this day, I put $600,000 into my first store, 300 grand of working capital, and 300 grand is a loan from me to the store. This is in 2003. That store makes closer to $10 million a year than 20, but closer to 10 than 9. I can tell you that, right? So that was a great return on investment, right? So I would, at this point, find somebody who could. The reason I like the new car franchise is it gives you parameters that it's kind of like bumpers on the bowling lane. If it's the right franchise, at least they won't let you get too far out of bounds, because you're going to have to deliver a quality experience, a quality environment, with good benefits, and you can build towards that. Well, I may not be making today, but at least I'm putting units in operation that'll drive my service department and through doc fees, etc. So I would say whatever you have to put in, make sure you still have another year worth of your own money to survive at whatever you decide to do. But don't have the fear of going broke, because it will make you make the wrong decisions. And so whatever building a loan portfolio through buy here, pay here is tough. There are many ways for you to get paid, and finding those niches. But if you can find a new car franchise and a landlord, as opposed to you having your own facility, that would be the ideal starting point, and somehow have access to unencumbered, at least, I guess, at minimum, it's got to be $1 million now in the States, probably $1.5 million down by your weekend dollar, let's say, or whatever that ratio is now. But I don't know that you could get into many franchises with $1 million in the bank anymore. So, so it means partnering with somebody. But as we know, we have a lot of friends who we both will mutually know from different scenarios who haven't been able to find that right partner. They hear what they want to hear in the dance, in the honeymoon, and then they get married, and it's not a good marriage. So.
Yeah. No, I love hearing people's different perspective on it. Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. What's your thoughts on it?
I suppose as a young guy that I've come through, so when I started in the industry when I was 17, as soon as I stepped into a GM role when I was about 25, I actually, even before that when I was a GSM, I got the owner to put away all my commissions for a number of years and not pay me. And then when it was time, we used that money that was in a trust account for me to buy in as a equity DP. So that's how I first jumped in when I was, mid to late 20s. And then obviously, reinvest from there. If I was to do it again from scratch, and obviously my market is very different to the United States and Canada and like obviously who I see now. But if I was to do it, and I'm looking at this at the moment, I would go down the avenue of and it's as I said, it's a bit different, but car brokerage style, concierge, warehouse style dealership, pre-owned, where at the start I don't hold any of the inventory, but it's on consignment. And then on the side there, I'd have a retail, detail, and tinting and aftermarket bay. In which case, I also have a finance brokerage on the side, which I have 42 lenders. So I'd also have that tied in with obviously my own software and everything as well. So, and then obviously build from there from scratch.
And I think you're doing the right thing. So there's cash flow and there's wealth. There's two different things, right? And the cash flow in some cases prevents you from getting to wealth. But having that working deal. One of the beauties of the new car franchises is that they're limited, so therefore they're actually sellable. Whereas other businesses, while they cash flow, may not be sellable. So that's where that life altering money comes from. One of the things, I like the idea of people earning and buying in. I never gave anybody equity, but I have made people partners by them buying in, using their bonuses, etc. In the States, there's some tax issues around that people don't seem to understand when they're trying to buy in. They're like, okay, how much have I put away? Well, you put away $500,000. Okay. Well, how much does that buy me in stock? Okay. Well, that buys you 5% of the store. Okay. Okay. But now before you buy it, you have to pay taxes on it.
CGT, yeah. So here, CGT, yeah.
So now you got $260,000. You say, whoa, I gave you you didn't give me anything. Right? I'm holding on to $500,000 of your money. And so in that same math, you now get 2.5% instead of, and they're like, I don't understand.
I remember these conversations. Yeah.
So it takes, listen, I'm sure that there are people that are born into it. I'm sure there are people that never want to own it. I mean, Jake works with a guy now. Brad doesn't want to own it. Owning it has different responsibilities, and different distractions. But, it's not about how much you want to work. It's about how much you want to make. It's about how much you can do, within that structure. And one of the biggest reasons that people fail in going to work for themselves is their self-discipline. So whatever you do, if you're self-disciplined, it's going to work. If you're not, you're going to go to work for somebody else again.
Thanks, buddy. Much appreciated. Thanks, Jake.
Great to see you.
Michael, thanks for coming on, guys. If y'all are not following Michael from Pinnacle Auto AI, there's not a better AI out there that I've ever seen. Go check it out. All right, and that's all inclusive for dealerships and individuals. I've known him for almost as long as I've been in the car business. All right, guys, so I think we're about ready to wrap it up. I don't have anybody else hopping up here to ask questions. So, again, thank you so much, brother. You've been amazing. I always love getting to hear your voice.
It's an honor, and I can say that I was your first in the Eastern time zone. So I feel like we pushed ourselves. And by the way, I think the basketball game is still on, and they've all been great ones. So I can't tell you that I'm rooting for either one of them, but I can tell you the games have been great. So
all right, so I do have one last-minute substitution if you're up for one more.
I'm here. I don't have a flight till 7 a.m.
Roger that.
All right, I'm going to jump up here, but I'm not going to turn my camera on because me and my wife are in bed over here. But I just wanted to say hi to Adam because he's the man. I've never met someone so gracious. He sent me so much business at Dynatron and all over the place, and always drops knowledge. One of the coolest things I ever heard him say, and I've given you credit every place I've told it, was the market adjustment for people who come in and do service on their trade-ins. And I think that's one of that aligns with what I believe on how to take care of people. And I told that to my car dad that brought me into the industry. I told it to him, and he goes, I love that. And I was like, well, I wish I could say it was my idea, but I'm not that kind of guy. So I gave you full credit.
Well, I appreciate it.
They implemented it in the store, and it's been working really well. So I just wanted to tell you that.
I will say this. I think you guys, and certainly Dynatron as a company, was started with a vision that ended up being able to do what they said they're going to do 100% of the time. And the fact is that you walk in the store and you don't belong in the store unless you're helping them make more money and make things easier. I'm not saying, listen, I hope I don't have any enemies, but I can tell you this, that the manufacturers have been, in some cases, the enemy of the dealer, and Dynatron has leveled that playing field for many of us. So
yeah, I don't know if you know this, but you know that Rossler recruited me over to drive, though.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, so he's been after me for 9 years, and he finally got me to come over. So,
Well, we're customers there too.
yeah, I know. That's why I said that. I was like, so at least me and you, we align on product and different companies.
Yeah,
So,
but and it's never going to be about the product. It's about helping, and that's why sometimes there's difficulty in getting it across because there's such pushback to everything that you bring into a dealership that's new, because some of the stuff you brought to the dealership before wasn't worth it. But with these two companies, we find it, very happy with both.
I believe that vendors have a personal responsibility to vet a company before they go there. You know what I mean? Like, because I try to if something's going to conflict me morally, I'm going to get out of there quick.
Right.
If I made that decision, and I think but I also lucked out and had a fantastic general manager in the store, so he put me through a lot of, I guess you could say I'm fire tested, right? He put me through a lot of hell in the dealership, and but I also was one of those guys that I don't want to pass on the next like big thing, right? So I did a lot of demos, and my wife the same way. We would set up one day a month where all we would do is demos, right?
Perfect.
So that you're not missing out on something, but you have to say yes with conditions, like, I'll do a demo.
I think one of the things that people forget is that a company is only as good as the person that walks in the store that represents that company.
Hey, I 100% agree. We just did I just sold my first deal like a couple months ago, and it launched today, and me and my wife both went over there the whole day. We were there from 8 o'clock in the morning to almost 6:30. Just sitting there.
Going back tomorrow, right?
They said that they were good, so I offered to. But we took a Monster and Red Bull and stuff like that, and I sat in the sales tower, and she sat out there with the salespeople, and I helped them work deals and stuff. It was fantastic. It was a great day. I don't usually put that stuff on social media, but I love doing that stuff because it keeps you connected to the dealership world, right? And so many vendors get disconnected.
Well, I'm gonna you can throw this away, but don't tell them you're coming and still show up tomorrow.
All right.
Because what's going to happen is somebody's going to MF you when they get stuck tomorrow. And everyone's going to blame the guy that's not in the building. That's all I'm going to tell you.
I'm going to text you a picture in the morning on the way over there.
There you go. That's awesome.
All right. Well, I just want to say hi, Jake. I love your lives, man. I love the people you get up here. I highly respect. I wish I could have jumped up on David Long, but I was busy the other day, so I was texting him, giving him hell afterwards. So, but yeah, I love it, man. I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna jump down, but Adam, thank you so much for all your support. I appreciate you, man.
Congratulations,
Yeah. And everybody, keep in mind, you can also catch the entire interviews on my YouTube channel, Car Guy Jake. I repost them now, the entire interview, and then I'll post clips all throughout. I love this. I really have been talking about a podcast for years, and I finally just got tired of talking about it, So thank you again. Everybody's been asking about you breaking down the market adjustment for trade-ins through service.
So do we have to do this the next time?
Hey, we can.
We can, but here's the thing, is that people like the idea that they should know what their car is worth now, what it was worth before, and what it's going to be worth tomorrow, and based on what they do to that car affecting it. One of the things that we all have to work our way through is sharing the responsibility. And so somebody will sit there and say, well, we role play objections. And I said, do you have a system that follows it? And I will tell you that people want to be heard, and they want to talk about themselves in their car. It's not talking about what ifs. It's, by the way, we did a market analysis for your car. Here's where the trends are going. By the way, by doing this, you're going to add to the value of the car. Have you ever seen the thing on I guess it's HGTV, right? Where they walk into somebody's house and they fix that house, and somebody else takes them out to go buy another house, and they look at the end and they decide to keep the one they're with the improvement, or go to the other one. Your job is to give them the options that make the obvious and easy decision for them to make. And by the way, if you have something in your house that's broken, you know what happens when you have to sell it, right? The inspector is going to come by and you're going to have to fix it anyway. So why not fix it while you live there, right? So you get to have a nicer house to live in, plus increased value of the car. And by the way, because you're doing this, I can even increase the value of your car even more, because it's special that it was done here, right? So there's a reason to talk to folks about it, and there's more to that story, but we'll share it when it's not 11 o'clock.
Yes, sir. It's time to hit the sack. I'm done. Everybody, thanks for coming out. Thanks for joining us. Mostly our guests. If anybody wants to hop up for an after party, thanks for bringing that, all the knowledge, brother, all the love. Have a great night. I'll take you off of here.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Thank you, sir. All right, guys, another amazing show. Thank you to everyone for showing up and showing out and supporting me, supporting the guys, the people in the car business is why we're here. You know, I mean, the cars mean nothing without the people. So keep that in mind. Understand that without the people, the car business doesn't exist. And it's a huge, huge, huge event for a guest to purchase a vehicle. We do it every day. We sell them. We get the numbers up. Sell. But stop. I challenge everybody here to pump the brakes for 1 minute and slow down the process in order to speed up the sale of making the experience the biggest focus. They are going to remember this. And customers, our guests, will not remember the price of the vehicle. They will not remember the interest rate. They will not remember how much they put down. They will not remember all the numbers. But at the end of the day, they will remember how you made them feel as the car sales professional. That is what they will remember when they go to buy another vehicle from you, or they go to buy another vehicle from somebody else. So keep that in mind the next time. If you're a car sales professional, if you're a manager, whatever your role is, it's a huge thing, guys. So love you guys. Appreciate the support. Appreciate you guys all showing up. Absolute honor to have our guests on, everybody that comes on. I'm going to go ahead and hop off. I've got to get up early in the morning and hit my exercise, get ready to do my training. I'll be in training for the next few days at my new dealership. So, love you guys. Appreciate you. Hope you have a blessed day. Maybe. Come on. Oh, wow. It got dark. I can't hit the power button. Love you guys.